We are right back to the 80s. Satanic panic comes back as the United Nations is once again trying to use its authority as a globalist police state to force countries to comply with its very narrow scope of what is appropriate for artistic expression. And surprise, surprise, video games and anime are causing violence yet again. Yes, we are actually somehow going back to this one again. The Karens are now in charge of the world government, of course all made up to try to force control over an industry. Why? They fear competition. Their doctrine, their woke religion can only survive in a situation where there are no other options. That's why they always go through government and corporations to force this. The only way wokeness survives is if people are given the choice of jail or woke compliance, the choice to obey the DEI mandates or to be fired and blacklisted. It is an ideology that cannot exist in a competitive market since everyone reviles it unless they can make use of it for personal gain. And that is why in every single entertainment industry that wokeness enters, its main goal is not to create woke content, because they cannot. It is to eat the guts of the existing content and use its IP corpse as a skin suit, while destroying and hindering anything that does not comply. This means silencing opposition on social media, using journalists and activists to get rid of non-believers in studios, blacklisting developers, preventing indies from having access to indie tools like Kickstarter and Patreon, and now they are using the world government to try to enforce it. This is cultural colonization. The UN is using their power to force compliance to the woke religious extremism of very powerful elites. They include the threat of using legal force to censor and change the culture of countries that disobey. How this works, they will use the legal system. They will get governments to start pushing it with the goal of undermining the social fabric of countries and their industries. They threaten to sue corporations. They set up HR departments, which are utilized to crush opposition. All you need to do is submit a vague accusation of that person makes me feel uncomfortable, and they can get rid of wrong race, wrong gender, or wrong thinkers who have done nothing wrong other than to be born of a type that the religion hates. They create a problem, making it harder to make and distribute cultural materials that are not Western censored, making it harder to be in the industry of creation if they do not obey the rules for existing. Wokeism is the most coordinated and corporate governmental attempt in history by Western extremists to culturally colonize the rest of the world. It is focused on the erasure of the voices of any culture that does not adhere to the scripture of the DEI cultists. They are using these games, these anime, these manga, will incite violence against women and girls, which is insane when you consider the massive scope of damage the United Nations does and the power it has. This would be like if Diddy was saying disco balls aren't safe for parties, because they might fall and kill someone. Maybe United Nations Diddy is able to bring up one example of a person dying from a disco ball, but ask yourself, would you feel safer with a spinning mirror sphere on the ceiling or with Diddy and his Hollywood friends? If you were a woman's and girls, would you feel safer with a stack of manga or with the United Nations? We have seen this. They stir sentiment with a public that knows nothing, cares nothing about the topic, to use it as a scapegoat. And the more power they gain, the more they can force compliance. The more they will ask, do you really want a group of wealthy politicians whose sole purpose is to centralize power in themselves to be deciding what you are allowed to read, to watch, to listen to, and to play in your free time? Look at today's remasters. These games may be a decade or two old and yet are considered problematic, in need of change. Every year there's more and more censorship, as studios have to apologize for the offense that the creators have caused to perpetually angry woke Karens. Give the world government more power to censor, and they will take it and seek more. They will never stop. There's never a time when the Karens, whether it is the satanic panic, violence in video games, or the woke, have offered anything of value to the gaming industry. No point where they wanted to do anything other than destroy art. Everyone knows the United Nations aristocrats don't care about manga, anime, video games, or any other form of entertainment. This is just people with too much power seeking their greed for even more. Part of what makes art beautiful is the freedom of expression. If we only let state-approved art, it stops being art and just becomes propaganda.